My name is Chevelle Gray, and I will be telling you guys my own personal scary, spooky stories because I have a lot of them. The first story that I have is my Bigfoot story, actually. So we're going to jump in to that one right now. And because I'm a huge Mr. Ballen fan, I've been following him now for about 5 years. We're going to do it Ballen style. So my Bigfoot story starts when I was about 9 years old, and my mom always took us to the Vernal area to be around family more. My grandma has a really big ranch out there. Me and my cousins were all about the same age. We're playing on the roof, so we're basically jumping off of half of the house that's just roof still, just kind of covering the basement. But the house is on a hill, so on the backside of the house, on the backside of the hill, the basement becomes like the first floor, and you can just walk right into the basement that way. And that portion is just a big open roof. It's a good place to get your binoculars and look out over the land. And we were jumping off of that. It's about maybe 8 or 9 feet tall. And then just landing and rolling on the grassy hill that kind of goes down into the backyard. And the backyard had like chickens, the dogs, some garden stuff, and lining the property on both sides. There was a fence that had a lot of cows in it all the time, and this one not so much, but we were doing that, just having lots of fun, being kids. Summertime, we would always go into the basement and steal the best cookie dough I think I've still ever had to this day. As the evening wore on, the parents were taking all of our other cousins home that lived in that area, and it was just Dusty and I. So Dusty is actually my uncle that I'm a month older than, and we grew up pretty much together, even though we were 5 hours south of Uinta County. We were there a lot, and him and I were like best buds. So Dusty and I were kind of jumping off the roof still a little bit, but as it started to get dark, we decided we're kind of tired, we'll just kind of hang our feet off of the roof and wait for parents to come home. And I mean, we're talking like mid-90s, so no home internet yet, I don't think, and no cell phones. So really hard to capture stuff like this. There wasn't, Ring cameras or anything. Dusty and I were pretty independent little kids. So him and I being home alone for any amount of time, at my grandma's house just wasn't a big deal. And the parents had been gone for about 50, 60 minutes at this point. And we kind of started thinking, oh, they kind of should be home by now. But it was like, no, we don't care. We're kids. We're free. We have all night to do whatever we want. And I was like, video games. Yeah, that would be great. And we're just BSing and talking and just kicking our feet off of the roof. And all of a sudden, as twilight is setting in, you can still see the sunset. I draw pictures the best I can to illustrate what I'm talking about in my stories because I was there witnessing them, so I know what they felt like and looked like, which is kind of cool. So this is the area that would have been to our right as we're looking out on the ranch, where there's some big trees that kind of come down to a V, and you can see the sun setting. And everything just got really quiet. And I was just blabbing on about whatever I was blabbing on about. And all of a sudden, Dusty's like, shut up, shh. And I was like, oh, okay, rude. And I was like, what? And he goes, do you hear that? And I was like, no. He's like, exactly. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, it is like deathly quiet. And he was like, yeah, that's not. And then they had 2 or 3 dogs started whimpering, and they just went silent as well. All the hens and the chickens went silent, and they are never quiet. There was no crickets. There wasn't even any wind. And you just started to feel this unease in you. And, you start to feel a little uncomfortable. I don't know. And so then we kind of kept talking about stuff, and he was like, there might be a predator or something. And he's like, if it's those damn coyotes, I need to go get my gun. So they had coyotes killing livestock, which is not good. And I was like, well, yeah, that's what you do. So I was kind of expecting him at any moment to go get his gun, and he never did. And I noticed slowly but surely we were just working our way back and working our way back and back and back and back until our feet were just kind of hanging off the edge now, not our legs. And I just started to feel more and more uncomfortable as the night grew darker. And we just kept talking about whatever we were talking about. And when I looked over there, I was like, there's something over there in between those trees that V'd. It was like right in the center of that V that the tree silhouettes were making. And it was a figure. And my guess is it was about 8 feet tall. So it like had no neck. So you could see the shoulders. And then it was just like this stump of a head. And it did look fuzzy. It almost looked like a bush in a way. So I didn't really think too much of it. But then as I got, thinking about it more and I was just feeling more and more uneasy, I was like, I think that that's the thing. And I don't know what's going on. And so finally I was like, Dusty, I'm like, what is that thing over there? And he was like, shh, like, shut up. And I was like, is it going to hear us? Like, is it going to know we're talking about it? Like, what is that thing? And he just didn't want to acknowledge it. And then finally he started to get, more uncomfortable. And he's like, yeah, I really need to go, get my gun and stuff. And he's like, where are the parents at? And because he didn't like to do gun stuff without his dad, which is my step grandpa. So then we just kind of out of instinct started talking louder. And I was like, I don't know, like if I don't get to be Mario at some point while I'm down here, I'm going to be really mad. And he's like, well, no one likes being Luigi. And I was like, yeah, it's crazy. And just nothing happened. It didn't move. It wasn't moving at all. It was like a statue. Everything was still quiet. I didn't get any smells. There wasn't any breeze or anything, but I know that when they say when you encounter, Bigfoots, that they smell horrendous. And I didn't smell anything. It just never came over to us, I guess. And so we kept moving back further and further to the point to where we were like 2 feet from the edge. Because, if this thing put its arms up, it was like as tall as the roof without its arms up. It was just really creepy. And so as time went on, we just kept getting more and more nervous. And finally, mercilessly at this point, we could, see a car coming up the road, and it's a paved road. She's on the very edge of this town. And so if there's people at that point, there was only several neighbors and they were miles away. So it was a pretty good chance that it was parents. And they were still, big open property. You could see for miles. So you could see a car coming, but it's like, oh, it's still going to be, like 3 or 4 minutes before they're here. And Dusty just started saying, I just want my dad. I just want my dad, and I'm like, oh man, if he's losing it, I'm screwed. Where are they? And so as soon as they pulled in, something strange happened. So because it's on a hill and where you pull the cars in, which would technically be the first floor of the house, from the street, the headlights in the cars kind of overlook that drop in the property. So this thing is so tall, and it was kind of in the middle of that downward slope of the property. So it was up a little bit higher, and they had this little Ford truck, I think, but they go swinging in, and the headlights hit this thing, but it's in between the trees, so I can't see like it's hair or fur or shrubbery or what the heck the thing was, but something in me was just like, don't take your eyes off of it. So I didn't, And I just, I felt this sense of relief, but I was also feeling scared because I'm like, it's still there. The parents still have to get out. I'm sure that they'll see it if it comes over here. I just don't want it to come over here. So when the headlights kind of hit this thing, it just snaps its head over and just looks directly at the headlights of the truck. And I mean, it was like robotic. It's so like unnatural and unnormal that you get like the chills. You're just like, ugh. And it just boom, snapped and just stared. And I was like, oh, I'm done. And Dusty took off. He was like, I'm going to go to the parents right now. And I was like, yeah, like you could just leave me here. That's fine. I'll deal with it. No big deal. And as I was trying to get up and trying to run and everything, I was like, 25 seconds behind him, but the parents were already, working their way up the stairs into the first floor, and it kind of connects so you can just run to that door on the roof. When I saw the thing move, I just thought, oh, it's going to come over here. And so I thought if I make any sudden movements too quickly, it's like a cat, it's going to want to chase me. And it was dark enough at this point. I was like, okay, I can't really see my footing on the roof here. And it was getting harder and harder to see the creature too, because it's just getting darker, but I could still barely see him. And I looked down for just like a second or two to make sure that I wasn't going to trip or fall. And I, wanted to run inside. And I looked back once I stood up before I ran inside, and it was gone. And I was like, oh yeah, it's on its way over here. So adrenaline kicking in. I thought I was going to die. I was scared to death. I mean, you're 9. You don't know what the world is. So I go running in there and I'm just panicked. I'm probably white. And as Dusty's telling, my step grandpa, my grandma, my mom about this thing, he keeps saying it's a wolf. It was a huge wolf. And I was like, what? And I'm thinking, why on earth wouldn't you tell him it was like an 8-foot tall man thing? And so I got really confused, and so I didn't say anything because I thought, well, if he didn't, then I'm not going to. They grabbed the shotguns. I think one was a 22. I can't remember the other ones. But, this little 9-year-old Dusty's going out and just fully capable little dude. They were only gone for like maybe 35 minutes, 40 minutes at the most. I thought they were going to be gone for hours. And when they came back, I was like anxious, and it's almost like he didn't want to confront me, but I was like, well, did you find it? Did you find anything? Like, did you see it? And he was like, nope, we didn't see anything. We were able to get a couple of coyotes though, and that was good. So right on. And I'm like, okay, well, do you want to like play, Super Mario World on Super Nintendo? And it was just like, no, not really. I was like, okay. So we just kind of did our own thing. I have no idea. I think my grandma brought it up to Dusty in the past year, and he says he doesn't remember that at all. So I'm not sure. I'm not going to forget that ever, because that heightened emotion just leaves an imprint on you. So the next day was kind of interesting. We're at my great grandma's house now, which you can see across a couple of fields. So I had one of my girl cousins, and we were pretty good friends too, kind of growing up. Her name is Sadie, and it's my mom's sister's daughter. So her and I, she's a year or two older than me, but we were at my great grandma's, and she's always had this really beautiful garden. I remember picking peas and just like eating stuff out of the garden, which is really cool. Too bad none of that really stuck throughout the rest of my life, because I'm actually dealing with some really gnarly health issues right now because of how poorly I've eaten for the past 30 years. And again, I wish I would have learned more from her, because they were like true farmers. And that was just really fun. But her and I were kind of playing with the horses, and there was a place aside from the garden, like a pen that the horse would just kind of stay in if they were doing things with the horses. And we were just living in the moment, the thing that you forget how to do as you get older. And we didn't have any reins or anything on the horses. We were just kind of you know, I was laying on Frosty, which is a beautiful pure white horse, and I can't remember the horse she was on. It's a brown quarter horse. And we got bored and we were like, let's go explore the property. I mean, it's like, my grandma will have to correct me on this, but I thought it was like 500 acres, but it might be like 700. I don't even know, but I know on the property, I'll work on getting a picture of it for you guys. And I have another story with that too. But I've only been to it was like one of the first log cabins in the area. And it's all decrepit, falling apart. It floods right there. It's just super swampy, creepy looking. It's awesome. And Sadie and I were like, we haven't explored any of this farm. Like, we should just go, you know. And I'm like, oh yeah, with no weapons or anything, and we know that there's predators out here. Like, yeah, that sounds smart. Let's go. So it's a more forested, like shaded, blanketed portion of the property with just lots of trees, and they kind of butt up with the property right there. So we walk back a little bit and we jump over the fence. We're going to go in the, you know, forested part and just see what we could see. And he says it's pretty flat, so it's hard to get lost. I mean, my grandma's house is up on a hill, so you see it pretty easily. So she jumps over the fence and she's like 20 feet away from me. I have no idea why. We just like ran. And she jumps over the fence and I'm thinking, well, don't, you know, everyone's always leaving me. So I just hurry and find the closest spot and jump over, and I was just going to run up with her. And as I was jumping over the fence, I had already gotten past the point. I had too much momentum. I was going on the other side no matter what I did. There was a big giant dead cow right there. And I was like, oh yeah, don't want to hit that. And out of just reflex, I hit the back of the fence with my foot and was able to land like a foot away from, maybe less, even 6 inches from this cow. And just immediately, just instantly, your brain, you know, everything just knows something is just super wrong. So I stand up and I'm just like, yeah. And, you know, Sadie's like, what is it? What's going on? And I was like, what? Look at this cow. She's like, oh my gosh, it's super dead. And I was like, well, yeah, but it doesn't look like it's been dead for that long, but it was like flat. It looked like, just in my 9-year-old brain, that the face had gotten kind of picked a little bit. And then when I thought back on it, I'm like, no, it looked like it was like cut, like right here on one side, and then kind of the eye hole on that same side, just kind of precision-esque. And still, I didn't really think too much of it until after the fact. But what was getting me is it had its shoulders. It was laying flat on its side, but there was no rib cage or spine. And I didn't dare. We immediately got really super freaked out, and we were like, you know, if there's a predator around that's doing this to the cows, I'm not sure that that's a wolf, a bear, or a cougar. It was just kind of like, nope, we're out. We need to get the heck out of here. It almost looked like from maybe the heart down-ish, maybe more, maybe even the neck, that it had gotten cut open, but I couldn't tell. I couldn't see. It was just kind of like this flappy, flat cow right there. And then it went up into its hip bones and stuff. And so we got to go tell grandma, you know, great grandma. And so we go running into her house and we're like, there's this cow, there's this thing. And she's like, okay, I'll call the boys. And we're like, okay. So they get there, not even, you know, 30 minutes later, we were like, okay, well, let's go check it out. And they were like, get back in the house. And we were like, geez, okay. Like, is it radioactive or something? I don't know. You know, and they just would never let us go near it again. Someone's messing with our cows. This is the second cow that this has happened to. So now not only do we have to deal with coyotes, but we have to deal with, you know, idiots coming in and, you know, mutilating animals to do weird sacrificial stuff or whatever. And you just kind of go, oh, okay, that sucks. I'm sorry. And then you just go eat ice cream or cookie dough or play video games. So that night, I say, you know, bye to my cousin. I think they went home. My girl cousins kind of went home. So I was back to grandma's house with Dusty. And I remember us not being in his room. I can't remember exactly where we were in the house. but I want to say it was potentially in the front room. But that was the opposite side of the open roof. So that was the side like facing the street and where you park the cars. And I remember waking up, and I want to say it was like 1:30 in the morning, maybe 2. I was so tired. I just remember how tired I was when I woke up, and I was like, why did I wake up? I never wake up. And then I hear this banging, like really loud banging on the house. And I was just like, oh crap, we're on a farm. Like maybe a horse got caught in a fence. Like, I don't know. Maybe it's a wolf. Maybe one of their dogs got out. I have no idea. And so I just thought, it's loud enough. I'm like, the parents are definitely going to wake up. And as I hear this banging, it just kind of stops, and I don't hear anyone get up. And I mean, it's silent, other than you can kind of hear the wood burning stove a little bit. I don't know what to do. Should I get up and like go get my mom up? I just didn't want to. Very shy child, super shy, even with family sometimes. So I was just like, no, I don't know what to do. And then it just started like tapping, and you could barely hear it. And it was like this tapping, almost like this scratching too. And I'm like, what in the heck is this sound? It has to be an animal got loose. Like, I don't know what else it could be, but it was keeping me from going back to sleep. So I keep looking over, I keep hearing, no one's waking up, not even Dusty, who was right there. And I'm like, oh my gosh, okay. So I thought, well, I know it's locked, and it's two, they're like sliding glass doors, and you can lock them in the middle. And I thought I could go over there and just see if a cow got out or something, because the basement didn't scare me too bad. It is kind of a creepy basement, but not too bad. Like, I'm just going to go see, because I don't want to get in trouble if like an animal is hurt or something and I knew about it. And then so I go down into this basement, and I'm turning on a couple lights, still pretty dim. And when I go out towards those 2 doors, I'm just like, okay, what can I see? What's over there? I can't. And the most petrifying thing, one of the most petrifying things of my life ever happened in that moment. And that banging that I heard in the beginning started again, but this time I was feet from it. So that the doors are right here. And then you have like, I want to say a good 5 or so feet of house. And then, it goes up the side of the house. That's the backyard. And so the doors are not, right on the edge of the house. They're a little off center right there. And whatever it was banging like around the corner on the other side of the house, so loud. I mean, I froze, because I was like, that's not normal. That things don't bang. Is a cow just over there like kicking it with its back feet? I'm like, no, that's not what this sounds like. It sounds like a person. So I was like, okay, if it's a person, this probably isn't good. I got super freaked out and froze, and I didn't know what to do. So then I waited to hear more noises, because if I could hear it knocking on that side of the house again, then I would know where it's at. And I did, and I could hear that like weird. And so as soon as I heard that again, I just took off and I ran back upstairs as quick as I could. And I went and woke my mom up, and I was just like, Satan's outside. And she was just like, okay, well, let's figure out what's going on. And I was like, have fun. I'm not going back down there. And so the parents get up, and they're probably just like, freaking kids. And they didn't see anything that they said. They were just like, no trace of anything. And I was like, okay, well, when it wakes you up in the middle of the night, have fun with that. So I just forced myself to go back to sleep, but because I was sleeping with my mom, it was a lot easier. And it's just weird. It was just a strange night. I kept thinking, I remember when I was falling asleep, like, why did I go down there? That was so dumb. But the next day, because the sun was up, so everything was perfect. Dusty and I were getting a little bit bored. It was the last day I was going to be there hanging out with them. And he's like, well, what do you want to do? And I was like, climb the mesa. And he was like, yes. So he said, I can do you one better. What if we take a horse up the mesa, because on one portion of it, there was a trail, and I don't know if you could get a horse all the way to the top. I mean, it's a decent size mountain. It's not anything too crazy, but I mean, you've got to be in shape to make it to the top. And we would usually, it's white sandstone, and when you get up the hill a little ways, you can see the property and everything. You're dodging cactuses, whatnot. And I was like, that sounds really awesome. He's like, I've never taken you on a horse up there. And I was like, no, let's do it. And, we're still 9. And so it's like, I felt like we were living these adult lives a little bit, but we get Frosty ready, the pure white horse, the smart one. And we get cruising up the hill, and it was just really nice. It was really fun. And I noticed Dusty was getting kind of frustrated with the horse. And we didn't realize that Frosty had been worked pretty hard that day, because we went up a little later in the day, probably 5 or so p.m. And he's getting frustrated, like, go, what are you doing? And we're like climbing a mountain. And then Frosty we get, I don't know, about halfway to 2/3 of the way up this mountain, and there's a reservoir on the other side. I thought it'd be cool if we could see it. I wasn't sure because we just never climbed to the top. But I was just there for the horse ride. It was fine. And Frosty started acting really like nervous, paranoid, fidgety. Like he just kept, like, I want to go this way. Dusty got frustrated with him and just was like, no, you go. Really pushed him, like, I need you to do this, and I never have a problem with you doing that, just do it. And the horse just got overwhelmed, it felt like. And when he went to try to do what Dusty wanted him to do, it was like he collapsed out of just fatigue. And when the horse collapsed, luckily we were in a fairly flat, fairly little bit open area of the dirt trail that kind of goes up, and the horse ended up falling on his right side and rolled over the top of both of us. And I just remember thinking, like, I don't think this will kill me, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to end up in the hospital. So I was just waiting for pain, and it never came. And just out of like the shock and how fast everything happened, I like stood back up and was waiting for bones to be broken. I don't think I had a bruise on me, and Dusty was perfectly fine too. And you could tell that the horse had rolled over another 1 or 2 times after kind of getting us off, and he was just like covered in sweat after you see the dirt stick to him. And we were both like, oh crap. And Dusty was like, oh, well, now I feel kind of bad because I didn't realize that he was just completely done. So we just kind of in silence, because it was just such a bizarre thing to not be hurt from. And I think the horse is just smart and somehow rolled to not hurt us. And we grabbed the reins and just walked him back down and put him back in the field. And we were like, sorry, dude. Thanks, though. And we decided to go up more of the rocky face side of the mesa where there's like petroglyphs and stuff. So then him and I get like 2/3 of the way up the hill. And I'm like, hey, we don't usually go up this high. This is really cool. This is fun. Like different crevices and little indentations and kind of caves and stuff. And we're just keep cruising up, still doing good. And all of a sudden, he's like, what is that? And I look over and I'm like, what? That's so weird. It was like a giant, fully intact rib cage just sitting on one of these rocks. It was fairly level. And I thought, that's bizarre. That's freaking crazy. And he's like, that's the coolest thing I've ever seen. After seeing this rib cage, he wanted to go get paper towels, garbage bag, and gloves. Because he said, you don't want to touch that stuff with your bare hands, which makes sense. And I was like, oh, okay, that's freaking crazy. So we kind of wanted to find the rest of the animal. So we started looking around that area because we were like, that is so weird. It is so high. It's pretty steep. How is it like fully intact, just kind of sitting there? We were like, that is so crazy. And so as we were looking for other bones, I kind of heard something and looked over to my left and looked up and saw something really big move. Really big move. And I only saw like its like hip and one of its legs, and it was bipedal and it was walking upright. And petrified is just not a big enough word for what I felt. And I thought, this trip to see my family has been met with just a lot of fearing for my life for some reason. So I just kind of did that freeze thing where you're like, I don't want it to see me move. And so I was like, oh yeah, I'll just be all nonchalant. I'm just going to go over to Dusty and be like, hey, we should head off the mountain. But what had happened was, and I'll try to draw this as well, is that there's this gap in between these big rocks up a little bit higher. And because we were up higher than we normally go, I wasn't super familiar with the area right there. So I was like, oh, that's crazy. And I thought puma, because it was just like super dark brown, almost black. And I was like, the only thing I could think of would be like, a black wolf or like a puma. And I'm like, no, that thing. I kept thinking, oh my gosh, like there's this crazy person running around my family's farm, scaring the crap out of people dressed in this weird suit. And I just thought I would much rather it be a puma than a person. And so what had happened though was the movement I saw was just like the hip, kind of maybe butt cheek, and then its left leg. And I just saw the left leg walk like a person when it just went behind. No noise, nothing. And again, I kind of noticed as I was going over towards Dusty that everything was just quiet again. And I went, okay, this thing is either going to do us in or we're going to be able to get away. I don't know what's going to happen. So I went over to him and I said, well, let's hurry and just go get that stuff because I'm getting really tired. I'm getting hungry. I'm way thirsty. And he's like, yeah, me too. So we just kind of jogged down to grab those things. And he wanted to go back up. And I was like, well, can we go back in a couple of hours? And because I'm just so tired, I'm just so, I'm like, that thing's there. I just don't want to. And he was like, no, we need to go get it now. And I was like, oh my gosh. So we make it back up. This time I asked him to bring a gun. I do remember that. We had a little handgun something with us because I was just like, I'm just really freaked out. And he's like, okay, that's fine. And that definitely helped, but I just wanted to get it over with. And when we went back up to where the rib cage was, it was just gone. And then that's when he was like, well, we need to get the F out of here. And I'm like, yeah, okay. And just without me even realizing it, he started bolting down the mountain again. And I'm just like, okay. And because I was scared, I got freaked out and I didn't want him to leave me there with this thing. I go running down, and when you're little and you get running so fast, you feel like you're going to trip because your legs can't keep up. But I was able to not fall over, but I thought any moment. But I kept up with him. We get to the bottom, and I'm like, I don't understand. And he's like, there's a predator up there. And I went, okay. And he goes, think about it. We see this rib cage sitting there, and we're like, what the heck? That's freaking crazy. He's like, and then we show up. Nothing's there. And then we leave, we come back and it's gone. Meaning we scared whatever predator it was that has it. And when we left, it grabbed it and went. And I was like, oh, grabbed it? And that's what I was thinking in my head because as I recall looking around, because in between the big white sandstone, like rocks, because some were absolutely massive and then there would be a bunch of smaller ones. There's like this sand, because it's eroding. And I remember kind of looking in the sand when we were looking for other bone parts for this animal I just kept thinking cat. Like, I just rather it be a wolf or a coyote than a cougar. I don't know. And I didn't really see anything. So I'm thinking, predator, like, And then, of course, it dawns on me that it's like that thing. I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, it was that thing that was in between the trees that was staring at us for like 25 minutes and didn't move. I'm like, oh my heck. I'm like, I was like 50 or 60 feet from it. Like, it was there watching us on the mountain. And it's like hunting the farm animals. And I just kept it to myself because I just figured, I guess we're not really talking about it. I just don't, like, it was scary enough for me and it was so real for me that I feel like I just would have been absolutely devastated if, like, my mom didn't believe me. So, we ended up, having good dinner. We played video games, kind of finished out the evening. And I did ask if we could leave that night. And she was like, no, we'll leave first thing in the morning. And I remember that night, I had a hard time sleeping because I just kept being like, when am I going to hear it banging on the house again? Luckily, it never happened. But that is my Bigfoot story. I do have tons of other stories. That's why I decided to start this playlist. I've got Skinwalker Ranch ones, Skinwalker ones, like the Native American stuff from Sevier County. We have haunted train tunnels. I've had, my hair pulled and rocks thrown at me. And if I can find my recorder, I had to move not too long ago, and I think it's just in like the storage unit or something, but it has so many EVPs on it. With my friends, I've asked my friends to get me evidence and stuff, but the Skinwalker one out at Skinwalker Ranch, which my grandma's only like 20, 30 minutes from, she's had cow mutilations at her ranch as well. And when we did Phenomicon, we were able to talk to like Eric and Travis Taylor and all those guys. It was really cool. And I gave them the actual photo of the Skinwalker that I got kind of outside the property. At the time, it was ran by Bigelow and the military. And we didn't get close enough to cause problems, but we did have like a spotlight hit my friend's Buick. And we were like, oh crap. And I just have so many stories, like the asylum in Tooele. I got to do a tour of that overnight with a friend a couple years back. I need to find my recorder because I recorded all kinds of, we got spirit box stuff. That place is uber haunted. It used to be a hospital, but we can get into all of those stories later. So just look forward to that. And if you would like to support me, obviously following, subscribing, liking, commenting, the engagement, all of that is super helpful. But I also try to custom paint cars. I don't really have any work right now for that. I'm hoping that will change. But I do paint corrections, ceramic coatings when I'm feeling well enough to. And I drag race. I'm in between race cars right now because I'm just trying to get my health back and my life back and all of that stuff. So another thing that would help me out tremendously is I created an Amazon like food list, because I'm only working maybe 2 days a week now. Sometimes it's only one. And it's just hard to make bills happen with the food. I've had intestinal issues, like my intestines started to die. I am recovering, I'm doing better all the time, but it's incredibly slow. And the food, other than the vegetables, I eat a lot of vegetables, is just so expensive. So if you'd like to help me out that way, it just speed up my recovery. And I would love to start working towards, a 5th gen Dodge Viper if I can. I had a Shelby, a pink one. And a custom paint. So the Viper's going to be, I'm not going to spoil it, but it's going to have the coolest paint job on it ever. So if you want to stick around for all the fun car stuff, I do play some Minecraft. I tell these scary stories. Then subscribe and check my videos out. Thanks for watching.